Welcome to Beaver Tracks, a damn good podcast where we bring you inside the world of OSU and share a behind-the-scenes look at Beaver Nation. I'm Kolbie Kopp, and I'm an admissions advisor at Oregon State University based on our Corvallis campus. Thank you for joining us today. Today, joining us on the podcast, we have Trinity Henderson. Trinity is a recent graduate of OSU, as well as a past member of the OSU marching band, and we are fortunate to have her on the podcast today to share her knowledge and experiences with us. Welcome, Trinity, and thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, well, we're so excited to have you here and learn from all of your experiences and hear your knowledge on the topic of marching band. First, would you just like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about where you're from, or brought you to OSU, what major did you study, things like that.
For sure, yeah. So I'm originally from Portland. I pretty much lived there for all 18 years of my life until I moved to Corvallis for college. I just recently graduated about a month ago with my Bachelor of Science in Math and a minor in Business. Reason I came here, I just really loved Oregon, and I kind of was deciding between here and U of O, but just really liked what the campus and the programs had to offer, and obviously a great marching program as well, and that was definitely a plus.
Awesome. Kind of to go along with that, how did you get involved with marching band at OSU? Were you in marching band in high school? Did you know that you wanted to be part of marching band wherever you went to school? Or was it kind of just one of those things where it's like, hey, you should join?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely knew I wanted to join when I came here, and kind of had it in mind that wherever I went to college, I wanted to join. I did do marching band for all 4 years of high school and really, really loved it. And that's kind of, band was where I found a lot of my closest friends, which I still have to this day. I've always come from a musical family, just like my parents, and like my dad did marching band all throughout high school. And when I was in elementary school, he was involved in like some community band stuff. And then my sister, who's a couple years older, got involved in marching band. So when it came time for me to start high school, there was a little bit of peer pressure there for me to join, but absolutely, I'm glad that there was. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And so I loved it so much in high school, and just knew that that was something I wanted to continue on as an extracurricular when I got here.
Very cool. And were you in marching band at OSU for all 4 years, or?
I was technically just in it for 3 years. My freshman year was the COVID Zoom year. So marching band did exist in sort of a Zoom fashion, but it didn't make a lot of sense for me to be in it that year necessarily. But as soon as it was back in person, I joined, and so then was in it for 3 years.
For sure. I'm curious to know, what was that like with the Zoom year? Like, what did marching band look like? What did you do?
Yeah, I know there was some sort of like having discussions in a Zoom room and then going into breakout rooms and playing maybe. I know when my class of marching band people was graduating this year, my band director was saying, like, this class of people is the people that like I worked so hard to do the Zoom year for and stuff. He was like, it was the hardest I've worked with the least payoff for any marching band season, but like I would do it again in a heartbeat. So like, obviously it meant a lot to the people that did it, and definitely an interesting time.
Yeah, for sure. What instrument did you play?
Yeah, I play trumpet.
Okay, very cool. And I do kind of know that you had some like leadership roles within the band. Is that correct? You were section leader and captain as well of the trumpet section?
Yeah, so of my 3 years, the first year I was just kind of a regular member, and then my second year I joined as a section leader, and then my senior year I was section captain in the trumpet section.
Okay, very cool. What's the difference between being a section leader and a section captain?
Yeah, it kind of varies by section. With the trumpets, we don't treat it super differently than just section leader, section captain. We mostly have the same roles and responsibilities. There's just a few things, like if we were split on a decision, then the section captain would be the one who gets the final say, or sometimes my band director would just need to talk to someone in leadership from every section to quickly get the word out. And so it would just be section captains are who I need to see. So more or less, we didn't treat it super differently in my section. I did create like our group's Discord and stuff, but that was more just personal preference. It wasn't something that's necessarily assigned to section captain.
Gotcha. And how did you get involved in different those leadership opportunities? I think that would be something maybe prospective students wanting to do marching band might want to know, like, what type of leadership roles are there, and how do I get involved in leadership? What would I do in a position of leadership? So can you kind of explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely there's a lot of possibilities to get involved in band more than just being a member. So for leadership, basically what it looks like is around April or May of the school year, my band director does interviews for leadership. A few months prior, a form gets sent out where you're able to nominate someone to be on leadership. So basically, if you were someone who wanted to be on leadership, you could go to a friend and say, hey, can you fill out this form and nominate me? They would do that. And then you would get on this list for my band director to do interviews with you. So then that happens in April, May-ish. And then we have sort of like our band season celebration awards every year. And at that event is when it's like the official turnover of leadership. And then you're working with your section throughout the summer and then early in band camp and stuff to get ready for the year and stuff. So we have all of those opportunities. It varies. Some sections are very large, like the trumpet section, and they have more spots open. We have had 4 section leaders the past few years, but other sections have 2 or 3, depending on the size. We also have a bunch of other positions, such as we have like our band manager position, we have a librarian, instrument manager, uniform manager, stuff like that. And then also our KK Psi fraternity, which is the band associated fraternity. And basically anyone that wants to be can get involved in that. And they like do a bunch of extra stuff like fundraising and sort of behind the scenes setup for the band. So leadership, as well as a bunch of other opportunities for people to get involved if they want to.
Awesome. Very cool. Also really cool to just hear all the different ways that you can get involved, not only just being part of the band, but all those different leadership opportunities and things like that to kind of give you like purpose and, things which is really awesome. But you mentioned band camp. So I've been wondering kind of what a traditional like band season looks like. When I was kind of preparing it for the episode, I was reading that the marching band takes a lot of different forms. And I think that's might be something a lot of people don't realize. And I myself, when you think of marching band, you think of just like performing at the football games and wearing like the band uniforms and things like that. But when I was reading, there's a lot of other things that the marching band, it seems like, does throughout the year, various different types of performances and things like that. They have a lot of different forms that they take. So can you kind of describe what that typical season looks like from when you arrive from camp in the fall all the way like throughout the spring, the different things that happen throughout the year?
For sure. Yeah. So band camp starts mid-September or so. About 2 weeks before our week 0 of fall term is when our color guard and drumline starts band camp. And then pretty much everybody else joins just at the 1 week before mark. So you do that period of time. It's pretty much full days of band camp, kind of like a fire hose of information that people are getting. Just some people have never marched before, so learning that for the first time. And then whenever our first football game is, that is what we're mostly preparing for. So that's all of our show music and show formations, and then just all of the other traditional music that we play in the stands during the football games. So you do that, and then starting week 0, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday is our rehearsal schedule. It's from 6 to 8:30 typically, and that is more or less all of the 11 weeks of fall term. And then every home game that we have, which is typically 4 to 6 home games or so, you're there for that. Game days are pretty much an all-day commitment for marching band because our call time is 5 hours before kickoff. So, for example, if kickoff is at like 2 p.m., then our call time would be at like 9 a.m. And then the game itself is like 5 hours. So it's a pretty long day for us. So it's the commitment to that. And then occasionally maybe a travel trip in there. So that's kind of when you sign on to marching band, that's what you're committing for all of fall term. Once it turns to winter, you don't have to be involved with this, but we have our basketball band, which is sort of like a faucet of the marching band. You have to be in marching band in the fall to then be in basketball band in the winter, because a lot of our music is the same and it's sort of built off of that. So we don't want anyone to have to sort of start from ground zero when everybody else already knows a lot of the songs in the folder. So yeah, oftentimes not everybody in the band chooses to join basketball band, but I would say probably a good 2/3 to 3/4 really like to do that aspect and continue on. So then for basketball band, we cover all of those basketball games in the winter, as well as sort of a smattering of like volleyball games, wrestling gigs, gymnastics meets are stuff that we cover as well. And then once it's spring term, more or less our band season for those athletic bands are over, and we just have the spring game in April, which is just an optional thing. And yeah, then we're pretty much off for the season.
Very cool. Something I'm also curious about, specifically regarding the band camp portion of it, is the living situation. I know there's a thing called homestay. Is that right? Can you kind of describe what that is and what that opportunity provides students? And if you've done homestay, what was your experience, or if you know anyone that's done it?
For sure. Yeah. So the goal of the homestay, it's primarily geared towards freshmen who are going to be moving into the dorms. And when we start our band camp, their official move-in days haven't happened yet. I think it typically happens like during the Wednesday through Friday this year of our band camp is the case. And so basically freshmen have two options with marching band. One is to pay the extra money to move into the dorms early, which might make sense in some situations. Maybe if you're an out-of-state student, you don't want to have to do like a move 2 times. But the other option that we offer is, like you mentioned, a homestay. Basically around late July/August, my band director sends out a form that people fill out just asking, what is your housing situation going to be? Do you want to sign up for a homestay? Can you host a homestay? How many people can you host? That sort of thing. And then he works with our band manager to sort of figure out who we're going to match up for the homestay program. And basically, if you offered to host a homestay, that means that you have a space in your place that you're going to have someone stay over during that band camp time. They try to, if possible, match up, like if I was hosting a homestay, match me up with another trumpet wanting to do a homestay, just to give sort of that extra connection and familiarity. It's not always perfect with the numbers, but that's kind of what the program is. And it's really great, obviously, financially, that you don't have to pay for the dorms the extra days. And also, it just really gives you kind of diving into the deep end of getting to know some of the people in the band, because you're literally staying at their house.
For sure.
I never did a homestay, but I hosted a homestay last year. It was with a Piccolo member, and she was super, super fun to hang out with and get to know and stuff. And yeah, it was just really easy. We were able to like carpool to band camp, that kind of thing. And so I would say it's a really great program. And yeah, obviously helps with the financial burden of paying for the dorm for all those extra days.
Right. That sounds like a great opportunity. Honestly, I know when I talk with like prospective students, regardless of what they're interested in, they're always worried about like, how am I going to fit in? How am I going to find people to meet or find my community? So sounds like definitely a great opportunity for those students to be able to find their, their group and stuff like that before they're even here for the fall, which is a really great opportunity. Kind of backtracking to when you're talking about the whole season of band and what that looks like, you had made a comment that some students haven't marched before, and so there's that whole process. What are like the requirements typically for being part of marching band? Because I also kind of understood that there are some sections that don't require any experience, but some might require like an audition. Is that right? So what are kind of the requirements if someone is thinking like, I want to be part of marching band, but I've never done this before?
For sure. Yeah. So having marched before it's kind of a myth. It is not a requirement to be in our marching band. Not every marching band program, or not every band program at high schools even have a marching aspect of it. So it absolutely would not be fair for us to have that be a requirement when they maybe didn't even have the option of getting involved with that when they were in high school.
Right.
We do more or less require that you have some experience on your instrument. For our audition process, you do have to submit a short little snippet of you playing, and that's usually just like part of our fight song and something else, sort of like that. So nothing that's super high stakes, but you will need to have at least some experience on your instrument. I would say 95% of the people joining anyway are ones that, even if they didn't march in high school, they just did regular sort of concert band in high school. So that's typically not much of a big deal for them to do the audition. And then Drumline specifically, they do have a little bit more formal auditions where there's, I think, a couple weeks during the summer where they come in person to do that, and it can get a bit more competitive for the spots there. But more or less just like a good attitude and a willingness to work with the team and show up is the requirement.
Awesome. Love that. What are some of the most like memorable experiences that you've had? Obviously, you've been in marching band for 3 years. I'm sure you've done a lot of different things, got to experience a lot of neat opportunities. What are some like major experiences or games that have kind of stood out to you as your top highlights?
Yeah, for sure. I would say anytime I had the chance to travel with the marching band was always really special. I got to go to our bowl game at the end of the season all 3 years. And then a couple of my seasons, I also got to do like a smaller distance travel in the middle of the season. And so any of those performances, I would always say, are really special. But on the flip side of it, it's pretty hard to match the energy that we get when we're in Reser Stadium. There is, I mean, when you think about how many members are in the marching band and then how many associated like friends, family, alumni they have cheering us on, we really do have like a huge following because of that. In Reser Stadium, when it's the home games, we get so much love from everybody, and that's really special. I would say maybe a specific performance from my last season that comes to mind would be our last home game of the season. It was against University of Washington, and our fans had sold out the stadium. It was, tickets were selling out in like 5 minutes when they went on sale. And so it was packed, and it was also pouring rain that day. And spoiler alert, we did lose the game, but the energy was pretty unmatched. And when we went to do our halftime show and it was pouring rain, that just kind of like lit a fire under me specifically. And I was like, who cares? Like, we're going to be drenched anyway. Might as well make the best of it. And it was like senior night for marching band. So my family was there watching and stuff. And I would say that game, although it ended in a loss, like I have never been that fired up with the energy in the stadium at a game.
Right. That's awesome. I was in marching band in high school, and that just brings me back to like my experiences. I wasn't even in it in college, but it like gives me the chills. I'm like, that just sounds so amazing. The energy sounds great. Just being part of that, I can like put myself back in my shoes when I was doing marching band.
For sure.
And it's kind of nostalgic.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is it kind of like? And I talked a little bit about this when you're talking about like band camp and what your, practices and stuff are like. But obviously, those are a lot of big events that you're doing. What is like the preparation like for an event, a big event like that, or just like game days and stuff? Because I know from my experience, just being a marching band in high school, it was a lot of work for me. And sometimes for a student, like worrying about trying to balance that, or you're traveling and like being gone from school. Kind of two-part question, like what is that preparation like? How did you make sure that, you were staying up on your schooling and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, even since like middle school, I've been someone who's been pretty heavily involved with extracurriculars and stuff like that. So just from my personal standpoint, I feel like I really do thrive in a pretty busy schedule. It kind of motivates me like, okay, you only have a few hours off to do your homework. So this is the time where you have to get it done. So I would say there's definitely that. For anybody else that's just kind of asking about balancing it, I would say it's definitely doable. And we've probably had every major on campus be involved in marching band and also do the academics. So it's definitely possible for every major. And it's just really having good time management skills. And I really find that marching band is kind of like the academic break, kind of like how people will take a PAC class. And yes, it's 1 credit, but also that's kind of your time where it's not the critical thinking as much. It's more of a decompress kind of thing. And while marching band is a lot of hard work, I do find that, especially when you're coming into a space where there's just such a good energy and some of your closest friends and stuff, it really can be kind of like a break from the hard parts going on in your academic journey.
For sure. You had kind of described, use the word energy of the marching band, kind of leads me to my next thing, which is what is the camaraderie of the marching band? What is it like to be part of the marching band? I know you kind of already gave little bits of insights about the game days and how that feels. But what's that kind of like, and how has it enriched your personal college experience, and what would students maybe wanting to join have to look forward when being part of the marching band?
For sure. Yeah, I would say it's been a very, very large and special part of my college experience. There is just so much overwhelming love and acceptance for everybody who joins. In my high school, I came from a lot smaller of a marching band. Here we're in the 200 numbers, and in my high school we were in the 40s. And so to come here and then have a section that was as big as my entire marching band in high school was very different. But I would just say everyone is so kind and caring, and there's a lot of traditions that sort of bring us together as a group, whether in your sections. For us specifically, every game day, we would do what we called hype circle, which is before we're going into the stands / doing our pregame show on the field, we would sort of just get together and do a little tradition there. So I would say it's just such a great way to find your people automatically, especially when a lot of people come from a band background already. They're kind of used to having this sort of similar energy and stuff, but then to have that in high school, it can sometimes be maybe forced upon people to be in band by their parents and stuff. But when it's college, it's this was completely your choice. And so just to have that, and then also know that we're all working together to build something really special that a lot of people care about, just really means a lot, I would say.
For sure. What kind of advice would you give to someone interested in potentially joining marching band at OSU? Do you have any advice that you would give someone based off of your experiences that you've had?
For sure. I would say do it if you're thinking about it. And like I said, it is a big commitment, but it's definitely doable to balance it with your schoolwork, your extracurriculars. And I think you can, I feel like I've gained so much from it, both the social aspect, just finding some of my best friends for life, finding people to just be able to hang out with automatically. And yeah, just really finding your people. And then also being involved in leadership and that kind of thing just has made me grow a lot professionally as well, I would say, just with the teamwork, problem solving, communication skills, all of that. I would say definitely do it. I think a couple years ago, I heard a member say that something they really love about our band programs here is that you can be really heavily involved, but not have it necessarily be part of your academics. You can be a music major, and that's great. Then you're additionally doing something you love, but also like me, I was a math major, and this part of my life didn't overlap at all with academics, but I was still able to be pretty heavily involved with marching band and basketball band, and then sit down band my senior year and stuff. So yeah.
Great. If someone, I already talked a little bit about the requirements and like what that kind of looks like to, be part of the band, but what is it like to just initiate like that first form of contact? If someone's interested in joining marching band, how is it typically recommended that they go about that? Do they like fill out the inquiry? Are there like events before the school year that students can, go to if they're thinking about joining, or any opportunities like that?
Yeah, so how I found marching band for the first time, I literally just Google searched Oregon State marching band. And I was like, well, here it is. Here's our website. And so I would definitely recommend that. All of the information, it's pretty up to date on the website about like what we offer, and then also the deadlines for everything going on. We also have a pretty big recruitment effort. We have like a recruiting team, and they'll do stuff like, for example, in spring term, when a bunch of high school bands come to Oregon State and we host like a high school band, like concert band competition, we have like a booth there, just like an info booth where students can come and ask questions and stuff. And then I think early on during start sessions in the summer, we have like a booth available at like the community fair and stuff. So we do have a pretty big outreach effort that way. If you're like maybe from out of state or something and we're not going to be going to your high school, then definitely just taking a look at our website and seeing all of the information there. It's pretty up to date and can tell you what you need most of the time.
Awesome. And kind of to wrap things up, is there anything we haven't discussed that you feel like would be important to share about marching band? Anything you think a student listening to this should know? Or if not, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a potential prospective student, maybe listening to this, potentially coming to OSU, maybe not even just, about marching band, just in general, like what is one piece of advice that you would share?
For sure. I would just say, I'm sure this is said a lot, but really getting involved has been what's made my college experience the most. When I think about all of the friends that I've made and connections I've made, some of it has been from my classes in academics, but mostly it's been because I'm involved in something outside of the classroom with these people, and that's how I met them. I would say it really helps get you by to find your people and have those friends and maybe professors and stuff that you can go to in times of need, or not just to chat, that kind of thing. So I would say just overall getting involved and being in the different programs and organizations and jobs that I've been in have really made my college experience. So I would say I recommend that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Trinity. And to those of you listening in, thank you for joining us. We hope you can join us for our next episode of Beaver Tracks. It'll be a damn good time.